everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for tuning into our discussion about employee wellness in this tough economic environment. At Lightspace, we are all about making the employee employer experience seamless. A big part of the employee wellness is creating a healthy and efficient work environment. And with the recent tragic passing of Anna Sebastian Perel, a chartered accountant at Ernst& Young, we're reminded of how critical employee wellness truly is. Anna, a talented professional and national level debater, passed away in July 2024 after joining the firm just 4 months earlier. Her parents have spoken out, attributing her death to overwhelming work pressure. Tragedies like Anna shows us why it's important to discuss employee wellness, why it matters, and best practices for companies of any size and budget. So, driving into our agenda for today, we first have a minute or two dedicated to Lightspace co-founder and CEO Jack Lowe for him to say a few words about Lightspace. From there, we'll move into guest speaker introductions, followed by our 45-minute fireside chat, then 10-minute live question answers, plus open floor discussion with our guest speakers. Now, for some words from Lightspace co-founder and CEO Jack Lowe.
Hi everyone, welcome very much to joining another episode of our webinar. Just kind of give a quick overview about what Lightspace is doing. We're all-in-one employee experience platform. We use AI to really enhance the entire employee journey to give you more personalizations and then to also help you run process starting with onboarding to performance review as well as engagement. So the whole goal was to really build a platform that provides a holistic solution towards all the needs that you need to take care of as a HR, as well as a manager to help build a more successful culture. Without further ado, love to get started with the webinar, and I'll pass it back on to.
Thank you so much, Jack. Now, moving on to speaker introductions. We first have Crystal Woolley. She is the founder and HR consultant at Novelty HR, where she partners with businesses to enhance their HR strategies. With expertise in staffing, employer relations, and organizational design, she implements tailored programs that boost retention and efficiency. Crystal also ensures legal compliance and provides strategic guidance to help businesses thrive in a dynamic environment. Next, we have Basma Aziz, Director and Wellbeing Strategist at KL Consultancy. With over 10 years of experience in marketing, branding, engagement, and well-being, Basma is passionate about helping organizations achieve sustainable performance. Through her curated well-being strategies and workshop, she supports business in using well-being as a driver for productivity and success, even in lean economic conditions. Thank you all of you for being here. Before we start our conversation, I wanted to provide some context for how the current stresses of the economic environment is doing for wellness programs. We've all heard of the famously generous benefits the big tech companies like Google or Meta offer, but as the economy recovers, these same companies have been shrinking staff and phased out certain benefits. This does not even mention the harsher squeeze on budget faced by smaller companies such as Twilio, who laid off 17% of their workforce and cut their book and wellness benefits, or more traditional industries such as the Oregon Health and Science University, who on top of layoffs is also considering cuts to their employee benefits program. With these unfortunate cuts, the focus with these unfortunate cuts, the future of employee wellness program is uncertain. Today, we will be focusing on developing programs that are compatible with the lean economy. So let's kick things off. For our first point of discussion, I wanted to know why employee wellness is important. From your experience in the industry, why should companies care to maintain their programs? Do you want to start us off, Crystal?
So, in order to understand really why wellness is important, you really have to understand really what a wellness program is in order to be successful in the arena. And really, it's more than just making employees happy, and it's really more than just providing activities. It's really an initiative in order to that's designed to promote the health and well-being of your employees that will indirectly affect the bottom line. So we're talking about improving the physical, mental, and emotional health of your employees. So that's that in turn is going to bring employee satisfaction and boost employee morale. And then at the end of the day, it's going to boost the productivity, which employers are looking to achieve.
Okay, that's interesting. Basma, do you want to go next?
I think to follow on what Crystal has said just now, I think it all comes back to the bottom line of the companies, because maybe it might sound sometimes that wellness or employee wellness programs are just a nice benefit or a nice add-on. But with the stress that we're seeing today and the speed of life today and how we're always asked to do more, we're always asked to be more efficient, more productive, it has become critical to actually have wellness and well-being in the company. And we cannot expect to still continue on adding on the growth year after year without taking care of our people.
Okay, thank you for both of your input. Now, I think the audience is now curious to know what programs or benefits have you found to be the most effective, beneficial? On the flip side, I would also like to know what are some programs you found to be unsuccessful? What do you think, Basma?
I think the programs usually that are effective are the ones that are low barrier for people to take part in them. Notice that the more effort people have to do to take advantage of something that they have as an offer in the company, the less adoption you have of that offer. Sometimes also you have a lot of benefits in your contract, but you don't know about them. Or you're not you don't look through everything that the company offers. A lot of times you also have an internal platform, for example, and you just directly get into your work, you got to get into your job description, and you forget about this part. The ones that are the most effective are the ones that are low barrier. And I found that it's the ones, for example, if we embed training within the growth of the employee, or we put it as part of their 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and part of their development plan, this is something that usually is I also noticed that it depends on the communication as well. So internally, when you work in HR, you go to the communication team and you're like, hey, I really have this amazing offer and we would like to tell the employees about it. Like next to it, there are so many other communications that the company needs to send away. Then it's also being strategic with the communication. When should you let the employees know about the programs and the benefits? Like, for example, if you do it per department, whenever they have their high stress seasons, then that's when you remind them of all the offers that you have. Or, for example, when a very stressful season has ended, let's say Christmas for retail, then you remind them of the benefits that you have, that you can take part of this. The more the manager also and the leaders are aware of these benefits, the more. So it's like more on a granular level than from an organizational perspective. The ones that I noticed that are unsuccessful, I mean, it's the opposite of what I said. Also, it's anything that is you have to take the decision to take it yourself. So let's say if there's something that is self-reporting, if you have to go in and put your check in, this is something that I noticed had low adoption rates because everyone forgets, and it's not on your high list when you have already so many KPIs and so many objectives to reach. This is a bit in a nutshell.
Super insightful. Thank you, Basma. Crystal, do you want to go next? What do you think are the programs that are beneficial and what do you think are unsuccessful?
So I work with a lot of small businesses, especially in the blue collar environment. And what I found to be extremely successful is whenever businesses partner with with companies, for example, businesses like massage therapists and gyms that are community based, that are very localized, so people within their community in order to enhance that and incorporate that into their business goals, kind of adding on to what Basma stated. When you add that into your development and professional development goals and make that as part of their personal development and establish a way to add that to their professional development, that allows employees to be more productive and add that to part of their growth plan. But in addition to that, if you are just, in addition to the community partnerships, if you are just doing different things that incorporate their family to get other people involved. So for example, if you have health insurance that you're offering and there's free resources through your health insurance that they're able to, the wellness programs that are offered through there that they can use for their entire family, for example, like your YMCA gym memberships, or maybe there's like a Relay for Life type program in there, they're more likely to do something like that with their family, but also get the time off to be able to do that. That's paid. You're going to see those benefits get utilized more often because then they're not having to worry about taking the time off, one, getting let go because they are taking the time off, two, they're being able to spend time with their family and be able to relax and enjoy that time with their family and do something that's active and productive. So then when we're looking at things that are unsuccessful, and if things are overly complicated, if just like any benefit, if you overcomplicate a benefit, it's no longer a benefit. It's something more that's just like a chore that they have to do. It's not something that they're going to want to do moving forward. Other things is if you have wellness program that's only going to benefit one segment of your business but not another. For example, you have this great wellness program but only your office personnel can take advantage of it, or your remote employees can take advantage of it but your employees out in the field cannot, then you're almost discriminating, but you're isolating a whole segment of your employees that don't get to take advantage of such a great benefit, and you're adding that added layer of stress. So those are the biggest issues that I see that creates that inherent barrier.
Wow, thank you, Crystal. I really agree with the discriminating part. That's true. So, but I would like to move on to our next question, which is there's been a shift toward in-person workplaces. I wanted to ask, how have recent return to office mandates impacted employee wellness and work-life balance? I'll let you kick that off as well, Crystal.
To be honest, I've seen employee morale kind of go down significantly because of it. And the hybrid model is more sustainable, but returning back to the office full time is kind of diminished that work life balance that especially dual income families are starting to see more of. They're not being able to take a break from work in order to be as productive as they'd like. They're not being able to handle the general life challenges or be able to take time and handle their sick child, especially as we still have COVID and the flu and we're getting into, the seasonal sickness season. So um, I'm I'm seeing I'm still seeing that barrier still there, and I'm seeing companies trying to fight back with it. So it's kind of like adding the commercials back into streaming, like adding the commercials back into Amazon Prime, and you're like, I'm paying for this. I don't want to see the commercials. Well, it's the same thing with returning back to the work. You're still working for the same amount of money, but now you have to pay for your gas. So it's kind of frustrating.
I agree totally. Basma, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
I love the example of the Amazon Prime and then the ads. It's literally like that. And also, I think everyone got taste of the flexibility then you also get to do your job. And have the flexibility, have the time to be things at home, to be with your family, to be with your friends. And a lot of people notice that they are able to do that job without necessarily being in the office. I think also the like companies started to, with the return to office, expect directly that the workforce will be engaged, would love to be here, and the coffee, the coffee machine box will just resume automatically. The lunch dates, this lively atmosphere that we had in the office before COVID, which is a really false expectation. You can't really expect people to just give up their flexibility and feel amazing now being back in the office. So definitely it has impacted the morale. I think also some companies now, and when asking people to come back, didn't give them anything in return. So if you're going to give up actually your flexibility now and you are asked to be back, legal requirements sometimes are not even following up. They're just keeping it at the bare minimum. They're not supporting people. Like, for example, with the gas, come back to the office, you're going to commute. That time that you're going to commute, a lot of people actually moved to their cities, like the city where they office city. Now probably they have much more time to commute, which takes away from their sleep. It takes away from their time with their family. This time is not considered like office time because you're commuting. There are usually, when you look at return to office mandate, you see that there are more disadvantages than advantages. It's still this idea that, oh, when people are together, they're going to collaborate and they're going to have better outcome, which is something that a lot of people try to challenge, but then there's always the decision maker that has it in their hands. And a lot of times the decision makers think that if we have people in the same place, we are going to have a better outcome, which is not necessarily true. I think the like even if again like they asked the employees to go back, they didn't, like a lot of, at least this is what I have come across, is that they didn't bring some flexibility scheme where you're like, okay, I can have like this many hours and I can be flexible with them. So then during the month I can have like 5 days where I can do whatever I want. Like, it's still either just come back to the office or you have those fixed dates. Really, the hybrid format is much more appreciated and really helps actually the efforts that the company tries to do from an employee well-being perspective. In my experience, when I was well-being manager at a retail company, the moment we asked everyone to come back to the office, it was so difficult. We really had so much rejection from the workforce. It wasn't something that was exciting. Everyone was really sad about it. Plus, all of the efforts that we have putting in well-being offers and benefits, they were not countering this effect. So we kind of just were pouring water in sand. In a way, we're not going to get the benefit out of all of these well-being programs that we have been working on. It's also understanding a bit the effort that you have put the company to help your people, give them this well program, going to be cancelled by asking them to come back to the office. So more or less, actually, it's more negative than positive with the RTO mandates.
Wow, thank you so much. Very interesting perspectives on the last prompt. But I think it is a great opportunity to transition into common challenges organization face. What are some you have encountered when implementing effective wellness programs? Think about funding requirements, usage, effectiveness, etc. Basma, I'd like to hear your insights on this.
One of the main challenges, I would say, is convincing leadership. Sometimes you have leadership, they already agree on it. Sometimes you don't. You really have to build the business case. And a lot of times you have to bring data behind it. The data that is required for building this business case most of the times is quite sensitive. So it's about sick leaves, it's about sick leaves and integration, it's about people who leave. So you don't easily get access to this to build the business case. So convincing leadership is a common challenge. I think once you get also a wellness program, well-being program benefit. Option rate, if you don't have a good communication strategy behind it, and if you don't have a clear framework of how is this going to be utilized, it is a challenge because people don't know about it or don't have the time to even read your email when you're telling them you have this now in the company. The last one that I could think of is the effectiveness sometimes of these programs, because a lot of them, when you meet with the salesperson of the program, they will tell you so many good numbers of like it's effective and it reduces stress this amount, and it's going to help the retention this amount, and like so many good numbers. But at the end, internally, sometimes when it's, especially when it's self-reporting and it's something that needs to come from the willingness of the person, so it's really about their self-awareness, their willingness to do this, numbers don't follow. And I think I noticed recently that people having a lot of stress, and especially when it's really, you have a job that is very demanding, your window of doing anything extra is very small. So we don't get the numbers behind. You're like, you have a great program, but then people couldn't have the time to use it. So then it's likely that a year after, leadership might say, oh, this is not working, so we are going to slash it out of the offers. It's also is about the companies being ready for something like this that is self-reporting, or so that people are willing to do this. You need different styles of programs. So it's also understanding what type of culture does the company have so that you can have the right solutions. Not all solutions are for all companies. There's a bit common challenges.
Okay, sounds great. Crystal, would you like to add on to that?
Just a couple things to add on to what she said. One, with each company, especially with size, there's a lot of diversity in needs. So, a smaller company, you can be more isolated and narrow down specifically what your wellness program is going to offer. And you can set a very limited budget on that. And so if you have a very small budget, then or no budget at all, you're going to struggle just quite a bit. So if you have, that's going to be one challenge. The other part is going to be just the lack of resources, one, because of knowledge, but two, that are available to you in your area. If you live in a rural area, there's going to be a lot less resources that are available to you. For example, if I were to be in a town right, that's like 30 miles from me called Glen Rose, there's not near the amount of resources available to them as there is to me because I'm closer to a larger city. So that's going to hinder that that ability. And then finally, three, adding on to what Basma stated, is that lack of management or leadership support, mainly because of the length of time it is to get in order to measure it. So it takes at least 6 months to a year to get the effectiveness results to measure a wellness program. So if you're going to measure that, you have to understand that it is a long-term commitment, and that you are going to have to measure it, and then the following year you're going to have to compare it to the first year. So if you're going to do this, there is that challenge of having that commitment and measuring it effectively and accurately at that.
Okay, thank you so much. That was amazing, the perspective you guys presented. Now for the next part of our discussion. I want to give the audience more concrete terms. So, how do employee wellness programs differ between smaller and larger businesses, especially considering resources and scalability? Crystal, would you like to start us off with your thoughts on that?
If you're really if you're a small company, you it just depends on your size and the type of revenue that you have accessible in your budget. So if you're a large company, you can go out and you can afford to hire a company, get a great wellness platform that's going to do all the designing for you, get all your employees connected, get it all integrated into your HRIS system, and get all the communication out. So it essentially does everything for you. And then you're just on top of it and doing all the maintenance. If you're a medium-sized company and maybe you're partnering with the PEO, you're able to partner with them and have them do 90% of the work for you, and then you're just there to kind of maintain it from the HR perspective. But when you're a small employer and say you've got 75 employees and under, then you have to design that wellness program on your own, and you have to establish free or extremely low cost ways. So one, the budget's going to be incredibly inherent. Two, you've got to have somebody or hire somebody with strong knowledge on the cheap end, and then really look at what you have that's available to you. So rather it's looking at your local chamber of commerce, partnering with your local gyms or health center, or even just scheduling volunteer days off and monitoring what that's going to look like, having community service days, volunteer led workshops, stuff like that. So that way you can kind of look at that by establishing a KPI for it as well. So um, at the end of the day, it just turns into who has money and who has time.
Well put. Awesome. Basma, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Crystal, you really gave the really big picture of it. Like it really comes down to money and it really comes down to time. Does the company, regardless actually if they're small or large, if they have the money, then they're going to be able to offer very good wellness programs and they're going to be able to really support their workforce. Of course, like most of the time, larger companies, also for them to attract and retain the best talents, they need to work on their offers and they need to work on their benefits. So it's also being able to diversify offers based also on the type of workforce. So if you have desk population, if you have non-desk population, the resources internally within your HR team or diversity inclusion team to handle all of these topics. Because now it really started from having wellness programs as part of your benefit package because it was what would be attractive to talents for them to join a company. And it has evolved nowadays to a complete necessity, like a business necessity for the company to survive and keep their talents. It's also depends if the organization has this understanding. We also see that there are really large businesses that, even if they are multinationals, they have record profits year on year, they see their, let's say, their burnout rates quite high. They still haven't decided that we have to put so much effort in our wellness programs. So it's also having this internal understanding of the importance of wellness programs. And sometimes this doesn't mean that if you are a large business, you're going to understand that. If you are a small one, maybe you're going to overlook it. And I really like what Crystal mentioned now with like really trying for smaller organizations and medium organizations to connect with the community and seeing what is necessary there, because there's a lot of wellness in community and in the collective. Coming back to really being a part of as a company, being part of what's happening in your city, what's happening in your town, what's happening around you, and connecting this with what people can give back, what people can gain from this, what are the type of experiences, how can we exchange like different thoughts, and how can we build something together, is something that can come at a suitable budget, let's put it like that, for smaller businesses, and that have very, very good impact on the workforce. It's very important to look at it as not, oh, I don't have the budget, so I'm not going to do anything, but rather, what can I do with where I am at the moment?
Great. Thank you, both of you, for those very insightful answers. To wrap up our discussion, I would like to bring a question with two parts. Let's take a forward-looking approach. How can organizations maintain or even enhance employee wellness initiatives while navigating the financial constraints or lean economy of a lean economy? And looking ahead, what do you think the future holds for employee wellness? What innovations, shifts, or new attitudes might shape the future? Basma, I would like to hear your insights first on this.
Um, it's very interesting. Yeah, we come back always to the financial constraints. It comes back to, do you have money to do the initiatives, or are you a bit limited? I will again build up on what Crystal said about the initiatives. Like, you have financial constraints, is to see how can you give back to the community. What can you do with your chamber of commerce? What can you do with your, what's available where you are? Also, it's very important for larger organizations to not like really jump at like for HR to not give up the fight, that well-being is very important internally when there are financial constraints, because it's very what is the word I'm looking for, usual that companies jump cutting budget for marketing and cutting budget for HR when there are financial crises. And these are both spaces that and departments that really need the investments so that you still can have the impact that you have as a company. So internally, if you don't take care of your employees anymore, they're going to be disengaged. They're going to come come in and come out 9 to 5, and they're not going to be proactive. They're not going to hear this innovative idea that is going to take your brand to the next level. They're not going to really give their all, which eventually is going to have an impact on the business outcome. So it's also for HR to really put the focus on building the business cases, showing the numbers, showing the impact of, if you give up this wellness initiative, if you give up this well-being program, yes, you might save some euros, you might save some money, but at the end of the day, are the people that are going to leave the company, and this is what it's going to take us to find this talent again outside. So not only see it from like a very short term perspective, but rather on the long term one. Again, I know if a company is at a financial constraint at the moment, I mean, this is like it would be a heated conversation. It's worth the fight, and it's worth the push from. I think for like on the other hand, for the solutions, like the solution providers, they also need to be able to offer different formats when it comes to their programs. So something that also fits the current financial constraints, something that is more suitable for where we are at the moment. Do you want me to go for the second question as well, or should we?
I think we should wait for Crystal to give her perspective on the first part. Like, what do you think, Crystal? How can employee wellness initiative can be maintained in this lean economy?
My biggest belief is to really incorporate wellness into your performance plan and incorporate it into your organizational goals. And do that. And I'm going to say something that is not going to be that a lot of HR professionals probably don't like in the US. But here I go. Do not terminate based off of at will, just willy nilly. And because during those times of financial constraints, during a lean economy, whenever you are letting go due to at will, you are increasing that you are decreasing employee wellness all around at that point in time. You are adding on to the insecurities of your staff. You are not just triggering your current employees, but now you're creating that unsettledness amongst your employees as well. So be very sparingly with who you're terminating and why you are terminating, because when you're letting go employees, everything, it's just like living in a small town. Everybody knows everybody and everybody knows everybody's business. When you're in a company, everybody knows everybody and everybody knows everybody's business. So we want to make sure that we kind of minimize that and just kind of keep it lucrative within your performance. That's my biggest takeaway with it.
Okay, do you want to talk about the second part as well? Like, what's the future holds for the employee wellness?
I honestly, I think what you're going to see with employee wellness and the future shift is you're already starting to see that shift. Employees are no longer loyal to a company. Employees are no longer loyal to a specific area and loyal to a specific industry. So if an employee wants to be with the company for a long time, you have to give them a reason to, and that requires investment into them. And investment doesn't always mean money. It requires time, and it requires the right resources. And if you are not providing that, then you are going to lose them, period. So if an employer wants to provide that, if an employer provides those wellness benefits, which incorporates everything that we've spoken about, then that's one key area that's going to help retain those employees in the long run. And you're going to see that shift more and more, even though they may not say, hey, look, I'm looking for a company with a wellness program. You're going to say, I'm looking for a company that's going to allow me to be part of the community and do things that I would like to do, volunteer for Relay for Life, or, uh, ride my bike across the country on occasion whenever I want to go on vacation, or, I need time once a month to go to therapy, whatever that may be. So I think you're going to see that shift become a requirement and no longer just a benefit.
Okay, amazing perspective, Crystal. Basma, would you like to add on to the second part about the future of employee wellness?
When looking at the question, actually, the first thing that popped in my mind is the usage of AI. I think we're going to see a lot of AI-based solutions. I mean, we're seeing, it's not that we're going to see, but we're seeing a lot of AI-based solutions, and having like something at hand where employees can get support in any format. One of the barriers of employees talking, for example, about their mental health is they have a manager that they do not trust or HR that they do not trust. They cannot share their struggles. While with something that is AI-based solution and they're just talking to an AI, they would feel more inclined to tell what is going on, something that is bothering them, and then that helps like really lower the barrier for mental health, and then they can get the support that they need. This means that the company also needs to diversify the support that they have. We're seeing like in the employee wellness packages that there's gym offers, there's therapy, for example, there's like a lot of learning and development trainings and so on. So this needs to get even more diverse so that there is always something for everyone. Considering as well that we're seeing more neurodivergent employees coming forward with their neurodivergence, we need to take the words diversity and inclusion into perspective when it comes to employee wellness so everyone can find something. There's this. I also think that since companies are requesting that their employees come back to the office, there would be also more solutions in-house. So if you can build, we're gonna see, I mean, this exists at the moment in bigger companies, of course, where you have an area to go with where you can get into a wellness oasis using VR glasses, and you're completely disconnected, and you can have your meditation, you can do so many things. But we're gonna see some shift into this becoming a habit, this becoming part of the day of employees, more or less. And of course, this requires that managers and leaders pave the way. So they have to do it so that people feel that this is okay. And something that I would love to see, I mean, I don't know if this is really going to happen or not, but I mean, linking, and this is also to build on what Crystal mentions about the performance of employees and having actually these wellness programs, they're linked to their performance. So if you want people to perform, they need to have very good packages so that you also can have very good profit at the end of the year. So trying to have performance processes internally that include these employee well-being programs and that make sure that people, when they do their meetings, they're showing kindness, they're showing empathy. It's not only the what are you achieving, but also how are you achieving it, so that we move from this is just something additional that we're offering to the employees and employees can take part of, but this is something required of us, which is not only going to benefit the individual, but actually the team and the organization as a whole.
I'd like to add on to what Basma was kind of saying. When you're looking at performance and neurodivergent employees, and during performance reviews, you're going to learn a lot about employees and what their superpowers are. And, for example, I have ADHD and PTSD. And with that comes some really awesome things. So I'm incredibly hyper focused. And so whenever I'm on a project, I get so hyper focused on that one project that I can't hear anything. I will not stop until the job is done. Somebody with that same superpower you want to focus on that project. Somebody else who may have anxiety, one of their superpowers is that they are extremely good at multitasking. So you want to use that and have them do something that requires a lot of multitasking. So, it's you want to lean on your employees, your employees' high skill set, and incorporate that into your wellness program if you can. You're not going to know about these type of things with all of your employees, but what you can do is try to put them on projects or give them assignments in the areas that is going to be the most productive for you at the end, and that's going to enhance whatever the company needs at the time, especially in those arenas.
Wow, I'm so very impressed with the suggestions provided by both of you. It's evident you both are very knowledgeable about this topic. So now, before ending today's discussion, I'd like to open up the floor to the two of you for the opportunity to share any additional points or ideas that you may have or feel that you haven't had the opportunity to express yet regarding employee wellness and to maintain initiatives about its future or about any of the RTO mandates. Do you guys have anything extra to add on? If not, we can move on to the Q&A. Okay, so great. Now for our live Q&A. So what that means is that for everyone watching in the audience, now is the time for you to drop any questions you may have for our speakers into the chat. We see some questions coming in. Okay, so can you guys see the questions in the chat?
But regarding metrics, can we just jump in? So
Yes, yes,
regarding
please.
metrics, there's several metrics that you can use. You can use them all. You can take, you can pick one, whichever is going to work best for your business. So, I mean, you can use participation rate. You can identify how many people are participating in these. You can see what employee satisfaction is starting at the beginning of your employee wellness. And then you can measure it, 6 months, a year from now. You can look at the health outcomes, looking rather whatever your program is trying to target, if you have a target. Um, maybe you're trying to lower absenteeism and increase productivity. You can start measuring those from the point that you started it and then measure it 6 months, a year from now. You can look at employee retention rates, and then you can also you can conduct surveys as well and identify those different variables there, and just simply ask them, hey, what do is this working for you? Do you do this? Do you do that? And make it super simple. No reason to make it long and elaborate. Nobody wants to fill out those long surveys. Heck, half the time you don't even want to fill out a feedback survey that off Amazon or, Google. So make it simple.
I think simplicity is very important when it comes to measuring the success, because literally nobody has time to do this if they took part of it. One of the surveys that I really like is the engagement survey that is sent once a year. This one is a little bit long, but I sometimes think that at least if you have to spend just like 15 minutes once a year, could be okay. Which includes everything that touches so leadership development, performance, adoption rate of different solutions. So you can get so much data from it, so that you can build then the case for anything regarding well-being programs. And I think I can go to the second question of the how can you HR make a stronger case for the importance of wellness programs, even when the organization is focused on cutting costs. I think it's very important to cut the fluff when you are trying to build the case, because a lot of times, talking about people's wellness or well-being can come off as, oh, this is just a nice to have, and this is you're telling me people are unhappy. This is the case. Like, if you actually do not put the money behind people's well-being, you are going to lose these people. It's going to have a dent on your bottom line. So really build the case with numbers, bringing in also data from different solutions that the providers you would have met with have given you. I think if they're choose your battles is also very important, because maybe you have so many things that you can offer, but one or two offers are going to be quite diverse. So also pick which one would have the most impact and fight for that, more than having so many things and then losing the whole agreement. I don't know if you, Crystal, have something to add on this.
Honestly, though, I mean, well, one other thing, use the resources that you currently have that are partnered with other programs. For example, if you offer health insurance, there's a lot of wellness programs that are connected with that. You may not be able to measure it on the back end, but you're able to at least communicate with your employees, hey, look, these are the wellness offerings that are offered. And then two, if you offer an EAP program, an employee assistance program, then there are a ton of offerings there that you can promote. So that way you're not having to provide that additional, you're not having to provide that additional cost, and you can cut the things that are costing you additional money. Once again, you're not going to be able to have the metrics that you had before, but you can still try to promote that environment. It's not going to be as pretty. It's not going to be as fun, but it'll still be there. But to kind of go on to the next question, are there any external partnerships or community resources that you can recommend in the organization to tap into to supplement their wellness offerings during the lean times? Absolutely. Absolutely. So some things that I've done in the past with companies is on volunteer-led workshops. There's a lot of people in your own company that are just great at so many things. For example, you may have somebody in your company who is very fluent in yoga. They speak yoga, they breathe yoga, yoga is their life. See if they're interested in teaching your team, doing a yoga session for your entire team. That can be part of it. Hosting maybe an organic coffee class and everybody tastes variety of like organic coffees, or doing a healthy cooking class, those type things that are volunteer employee led workshops. And then you're kind of showing what your employee superpowers or their talents are at the same time, and you're creating that engagement with your employees and kind of creating that additional connection that employees didn't even know that even existed, which is kind of a neat thing to do. Additionally, you could partner with local bodybuilding gyms, partnerships, physical therapy companies, workers' compensation companies. Every company in the almost every state in the United States requires you to have workers' compensation. They provide a ton of free resources and training, and they will come out to your location or remote for free, and some great resources there. Basma, do you have anything to add?
What I thought about is also the community, the grass root communities as well. Also if there are different, let's say, IT community meetup groups that are in your city, to also explore that and bring that closer side to the company. So making that like a communicating about it to your workforce, that these exist. There are these different communities for IT, for HR, for marketing that you can join, so that you can also support the community feeling. Great ideas, Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal, you totally put everything into perspective. Thank you so much. I would like to move on now to the closing remarks. Thank you again to our speakers, Crystal and Basma, for joining us today. And thank you to everyone in the audience tuning into our discussion. Before you go, make sure to check out our speakers, Crystal and Basma, on their LinkedIns, which are listed above. They'll also be getting your emails so you can continue conversations with them, check out their businesses, and all of their incredible work that they're doing. Finally, make sure to keep an eye open for our other upcoming webinars as we build out this series. Aside from that, that's going to be the end of our discussion. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
So
You have
much.